Right, guys, we're doing a little makeshift Patreon video today. As you can see, we're not in the studio because me and Joe are like two ships passing the night this week. We can't seem to get a date locked together. But he's probably had enough of me face to face, and I've had enough of him face to face anyway. So we're gonna make it nice and easy on Zoom. We're gonna break down the main and the co-main for UFC two. Help me out, Joe.
288 it is, mate.
288. And then we're just gonna do that pretty much, and then we might get through some questions. Co-main event: Belal versus Gilbert Burns. Short notice, really, for both of them. When did Gilbert fight? What was it, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, Gilbert didn't fight that long ago, and I'm really surprised that he's even took. I don't feel like he even needed to take this almost, but it just shows the type of person he is, doesn't it?
I think the vibe he's giving me is that he almost wants to make it impossible for UFC to give the title fight to Colby. And to be fair, he just smashed Masvidal. If he goes out and smashes Belal, then over a 5 round, that's a 5 round co-main. If he does that in the space of a month, I think he fought in January as well, so that'd be 3 wins in the space of like 5 months. I kind of feel like they gotta give him the title shot. It's kind of a no-brainer.
Who did he fight in January? Was that Magny or?
He fought Magny, yes. He sub Magny. Obviously, just dominated Masvidal, and and if he goes out there and starches Belal or subs Belal, which is no easy task, don't get me wrong, they kind of got to give it to him, I think.
Oh, definitely, mate. Over just looking at what Colby's done in the last 12 months, well, which is nothing, is it? I know he went to London and he made weight, but let's be honest, Gilbert would have jumped at that opportunity as well, wouldn't he?
Of course he would have.
So it's a bit of like you say, I think he puts himself right in the mix. I don't see how they could take that away from him then.
No,
but,
and go on, sorry, go.
Money talks, doesn't it? So, although,
bless me. Yeah, that's it. I think Colby's the bigger money fight, isn't he? But like you said, he hasn't really done a lot the last year. He beat Masvidal, which all in all was a great win. We haven't really seen him since, but he is a big name. He's a big draw, and he will sell pay-per-view. Stylistically, it's probably one of the tougher fights for Leon, I think, because he's not going to look to entertain any sort of striking. He's going to just come and wrestle. And I think in terms of wrestlers, he's probably the best in the division. I know Usman, you could argue as well, but I think stylistically wise, Colby will shoot a double leg, will shoot a single leg. You don't see Usman do too much. Usman's going to press through the cage and grind you and stuff. But, stylistically, this fight is a very fucking tough fight for Belal to take, and you got to give him credit, to be fair, because Belal's game is kind of forward pressure. We've seen him against Sean Brady kind of beat him up on the feet, but he's not really known for his striking. Belal, he's known for like grinding guys out and taking them down and taking their soul. But I just don't feel like Gilbert's the type of guy you can do that to with a wrestling. His jiu-jitsu is like let's look at when he fought Khamzat. Khamzat didn't, let's look how quick Khamzat is slicing through people on the floor. Dash choking Kevin Holland in a minute or whatever. For Khamzat to not really want to hang about on the floor with Gilbert, kind of sends you the level he's at. Nogi world champion, jiu-jitsu, God knows how many subs in the UFC. And he's not a guy you're going to be able to just take down and grind, because he's gonna cause you too many problems really from his back for you to want to be risking sitting in his guard. And so I would assume Belal's going to have to kind of hope that it's going to be like he's going to out-cardio him, basically, is what I'm assuming, get him tired and push him on in the later round. Because, I don't want to sound... I'm not shitting on Belal by any means. I think Belal's really good, but I think striking-wise as well, Gilbert's probably the better striker, the more explosive striker. I think Belal's kind of only real weapon would be the cardio, maybe, which is why he's kind of wanted over 5 rounds.
Who do you think? So you take Burns on that one if you had to pick?
I think I would. Yeah. I think I would. I mean, I just don't see maybe get him tired and drag him into deep waters, which is Belal's very good at. But it's not like Gilbert is a pure jiu-jitsu guy. If he can wrestle, he's not an easy guy to take down. And if you want to try and walk him down and strike, we've seen him knock guys out cold. We've seen him. He's dropped Khamzat. He's rocked Masvidal in his last fight. He can bang as well. So Yeah, stylistically, I don't think it's a, and like you said, it's not really a fight Belal had to take, and it's not really a fight Gilbert had to take. But I think stylistically, it favors Gilbert a lot more than it does Belal.
Do you think that like Burns is obviously like a lot of people can't really roll from like January to like March, like April to keep fighting. But the fact that he was like a 155er before, do you think that lends itself to the fact that he can turn these around pretty quick? Like, do you think that's kind of like a bit of a benefit?
Yeah, obviously he doesn't cut a great deal of weight, does he? Because he is so active, but he's not a small guy, Gilbert. He's short. I've stood with him in a lift in Brazil, and at the time he was fighting at 155, and I was like at 145. This is before back before I went to back, and I remember looking at him thinking, how does this guy make 155? Like he's so thick, his neck, his arms, he's like a little ball of muscle. But obviously he's not massive for the weight. But I think he's probably a bit like a Kobe then, who doesn't cut way too much weight, but is big enough to still be powerful and explosive. And like you say, it does lend itself. I think Bilal's very similar though. I don't think Bilal's a massive guy for the weight. Um, I think he's a guy that kills himself to get down to the limit. So it's an interesting one. I've never really seen Gilbert gas in a fight either. So I don't know.
No,
Stylistically, I think it's a bad fight for Belal, if I'm being honest. He probably would have preferred a Masvidal or maybe, I don't know, a Shavkat even, maybe even a Shavkat. I think
and
stylistically, it's not a great fight for him.
he's also got that little bit of a storyline with Leon as far as like the fight was a no contest, wasn't it? It wasn't he didn't lose the fight, did he? So he's
No,
kind
no,
of, he was losing the fight though. If you're looking at
yeah,
it from the
yeah,
outside.
it was going one way, wasn't it? But like you said, no, it is a storyline there, and if he can pull it off, Belal, and take out Burns, like let's just look at it. Let's play MMA math a bit. Colby's getting a title shot on the basis that he beat Masvidal by a decision, albeit a dominant decision. Burns has just also beat Masvidal by a dominant decision. If Belal somehow goes in there and finishes Burns, how do you deny him? I think he'll be like what? If you don't include the Leon O'Connor, I think he's like an 8-fight win streak as well. So I think both of them have kind of been not forced into it by the UFC, but off their own back. I thought, right, this is my chance to kind of push Colby aside. But all in all, final pick, if I was a betting man, obviously I'm not allowed to be, but if I was a betting man, I would pick Burns via a KO or TKO.
Yeah, I put my money on him. I just think he's just got so, which maybe not make a difference. I don't know, but I feel like he's just coming in with so much momentum behind him, so much drive to just do whatever it takes necessary to get to the belt. Like he's not ducking any fights; he'll fight anyone. So I just feel like he's going to go in there and win. It would be a hard fight, I think, though.
Yeah, definitely. Let's not make it like it's not going to be a whitewash. I don't envision Gilbert going in there and smoking him early. Although he can catch anyone early with the power he's got, it's a dangerous fight. But I just think stylistically it favors Gilbert. So yeah, that would be my pick. And then right now, moving on to the main. You
This
can
is
open up on this one. Let's see what you think about this to start, because this one is for me one of the most probably anticipated matchups I've been waiting for a long time in terms of the two guys involved. So, what's your thoughts going into it? Obviously, Aljo against Triple C.
my thoughts on this one. It's a bit of a strange one. It's a hard one to get your head around where Henry's at more than anything. Because I think if Henry goes in there and he is the Henry of old, I think he's probably going to win. I just think he's just such a competitor. I don't see how he's going to lose. Obviously, Aljo could just go in there and ride his back for 5 rounds, but I don't see. I think Henry's such a game planner. I just don't see him letting that happen. But at the same time, he's had a lot of time out. So it's a tough one to call. I think if I was going to put money on it, I probably would go Henry on this one, just based on the fact of his most recent form. Which can you go off or can you? I don't know. It's a tough one.
So yeah, so just to touch on that, I was watching Demetrius Johnson. I think he was on Joe Rogan, and he was saying obviously him and Henry are quite friendly now. They do a bit of training, and he was saying Henry's really well off. He's made good money from fighting. He's invested it smart. He makes good money on his YouTube. And he was kind of saying, he's not coming back for the money. He doesn't need the money. You know what I mean? He said he doesn't need the money. And you can see that by the team. He's almost even now that he's come back for a fight. He's built the team around him with no expense paid. And I've watched all of his Return of the GOAT series on YouTube the last 8 weeks, and like you said, just so like he seems so dialed in. Like you don't win an Olympic medal by chance. You don't win two UFC titles by chance. You've got to be a little bit special, and you can really see when he's focused. He's serious. All the cringe when he's training, you can see when he's in the gym, all that cringe shit, all that bullshit of king of cringe and this and that. It all goes out the window. He's got 5 or 6 different coaches. They're doing team meetings. They're all working together to make sure they're getting the most out of him. They're game planning. They brought in a kid who's had 200 amateur boxing fights. They brought in a Nogi Jiu-Jitsu world champion to help him work defense. So like you said, he's just so dialed in, so detailed. I don't see that he would be like we said, for me, I agree with the only way Aljo's going to win if he can kind of take his back and ride him and get a choke. But I just don't see Henry making a mistake that would allow him to get into that position. Aljo's not going to be able to just maul him down, triple season Olympic level wrestler. Yeah, to be fair, we got a fact that Aljo's much bigger, probably a hell of a lot stronger, got a lot more range. But I just think stylistically and also fighting IQ wise, it kind of all sways in Henry's favour. Like you said, the only real question we need answered is, what has he been doing with his 3 years off? Because he did go quite fat. He didn't look like he was doing a lot of training at one point. Just kind of, he had 3 years of being sat on his ass. However, John Jones has kind of brought him in to help him with his comeback. So that kind of tells you all need to know about how good his mind is in the sport.
And when you think about it, Aljo had almost a year out mind in the last 3 years when Henry's had 3 years out. So it's not like he's been overly active. He's only, who's he fought? Jan and Dillashaw. And obviously, that does make a difference. But at the same time, he's had a long time out of injury. So maybe they're on like an even keel as far as that goes. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, Aljo does get shit on a little bit, but you can't knock what he's done. A lot of people after that first Jan fight was kind of, this guy's trash. He's going to come back. Jan's going to smoke him, and he'll be back to fighting down the lower end of the division again. But come back, put an hell of a performance to beat Jan. People still hate on it to this day. Oh, he rode it. He hugged his back, but he did what was necessary to win the fight. TJ, you kind of feel for him a bit because then TJ had the arm injury, but it's kind of like I kind of felt like that's how the fight was going to go anyway. If he does win, Aljo, it's got to silence pretty much all the haters, because to beat a Henry Cejudo, it takes him to win. You know what I mean? Especially like you said, if he comes back how he looked towards the end of his career last time, then he's dealing with a different beast. But again, if I was to bet, I can't bet because I'm a UFC fighter and we're not allowed to bet. But if I was to bet, or if I was to make an official prediction, I would go. I don't know if he finishes him. I would probably go Cejudo decision. I think if he's tough enough to ride out, if Jan couldn't catch him and put him away, I kind of feel like Cejudo won't have the power to. So I'm gonna go Cejudo via unanimous decision.
I'm gonna go Cejudo TKO round 4. I reckon.
You reckon? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Mind it's one of them. It is a guessing game and a betting game, isn't it? So you just never know how it's going to go. But
hey, outside a bet, I bet to be good odds if you was to pick it would be Aljo round 1 rear naked choke or round 1 submission. Catches him cold when he's dry, jumps up on the back and does the old Sandy again. If you wanted an outside punt, I think that'd probably be the one to go for. But no, yeah, I would go to Cejudo decision.
That's what the money will be at. Hey, did you? Besides it, I don't know if there's any others you want to catch on this card. I was just going to bring up. Did you watch any of the Mike Perry and Luke Rockhold?
Yes, I did. I watched Perry and Rockhold, and I watched Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendes. And there's not a lot to say on that one. I was just a bomb bin. I just kind of stood and traded for fucking 5 rounds. They both of them hit the deck multiple times. Wouldn't have argued the decision went either way. Mendes obviously retired now. I'd like to see Eddie back in there in the BKB, to be honest. He looked quite good. His hands held up. He boxed pretty well, I think, all things considered. Maybe Eddie against the James Lilly would be a good fight.
That would be a good fight.
But in terms of the main event, it kind of went how I thought it would. Rockhold was obviously the the more technical guy, but I just think Mike Perry is literally made for BKB. He's tough as fuck. You know, he doesn't feel as if he doesn't feel pain. He's eating like straight lefts from Rocco. I know he wobbled a little bit, the one, but he's just so tough, and I think that's his element, getting it and taste his own blood and firing back. And you know, he looks like one of them guys that's made of steel, doesn't he? Like you look at Rocco's face; they're only in there rounding a bit, and two black guys chipped one of his teeth in half, split his lip. Yeah, I mean his front tooth there is completely in half. Where he's punched his one fucking tough out. So I think like Perry's and then McGregor in the ring then afterwards doing a stare off. I bet Dana's just there like, what the fuck is he doing?
How much did they pay him, do you reckon, to turn up and do that? They must have paid him, do you reckon?
They must have paid him because it felt like he solely went out there for that event. It felt like he was there as like a guest of honor. So, but great marketing from him. You know, he was sourced up when he on the proper 12, and they were like, "You want to jump in the ring?" And you know, McGregor's never going to turn down a face off. But look, I don't ever see McGregor going to BKB. He's too big a star, I think, for the UFC to let it go, no matter what happens. But he'd probably be fucking pretty good at it, to be honest. Fucking his hands are massive, boxes like a beast, hits like a beast. So who knows? We might see him and Mike Perry in a couple of years' time.
Do you think though? Because like the growth of it now, mate, is insane, isn't it? Like I know they're not near the UFC because they're not putting on the events with the names week in, week out. But like, you didn't know they were 2 years ago.
No, well, listen, I heard that. I seen online the Rock got 500K for that fight, as did Eddie Alvarez. So I'm guessing, being the champion, Perry either had the same or maybe even more. Then let's factor in that they can wear sponsors on their shorts. You know, they're sponsored by, like you see, branded OnlyFans and stuff like that, sponsoring them and sponsoring all the fighters. So I would be very surprised if the top four guys, so if Perry, Rockhold, Alvarez, and Mil, I bet they all cleared well over $1 million. And you know, you look at, if you chuck them guys in UFC, they're probably not going to make that type of money. You know, maybe Eddie Alvarez and Mendes may have in their title fights, but like Mike Perry would never make $1 million plus for a UFC fight. I think Rockhold had 500K in his last UFC fight, but again, like they're gaining so much momentum fast. BKFC, they've left the UK BKB for dead. It's not even, you know, it's not even a what if now or who's the best. It's not even close. It's like literally BKFC compared to BKB. It's kind of like if you was to go watch a domestic MMA show and then go watch a UFC event and be like, oh, which one do you think's better? You know what I mean?
They've took all their big names as well.
Yeah, they have.
They've stolen them all for all the UK shows. They've completely wiped them out.
Well, look at UK. Just in the UK, you've got Franco's over there now. James Connolly, Lily's over there. You know, all the really high level boxers are going because they're making better money. You know, they're getting this chance to fight abroad, and they're fighting. You know, Lily could end up fighting Chad Mendes now, or not Chad Mendes. Sorry, Eddie Alvarez. That was never going to happen in BKB, was it? And it's not. I don't want to sit there and shit on BKB, of course, but I just think BKFC. I don't know where they get their money from, but their marketing is brilliant. You know, to sign up Luke Rockhold straight and Eddie Alvarez straight off like a UFC contract, especially Rockhold, is nuts. Because I bet the offers he had off Bellator and PFL were sky high as well. So for him to kind of, and what I like what they're doing is they kind of like saying to guys, look, you haven't got exclusively signed to us. You can come here, but you can go and have an MMA fight, or you can go and have a boxing fight. But if you're gonna fight BKB, obviously you fight for us. Because like Rockhold was kind of like on a one fight deal. I think Alvarez have signed like a multi-fight, but they kind of said to Alvarez, he can still fight MMA in other promotions if he wants. So do you know what? Fucking hell, they're doing everything right. I wouldn't be surprised to see him venture into MMA, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I know BKB, like the UK one, I know they sign people up to stupid amounts of fight deals. And I get it. They're trying to like look after their brand and whatnot. And they want to make sure that if you're fighting for us. But at the same time, like, there's going to be a lot of people who are big names who would never even consider that because it's such a risk signing like a 5-fight deal bare knuckle. You have one of them bare knuckle fights and you don't like it. Like, it's not something you're going to go and do 4 more of, is it?
Let's just put it in perspective then. So like, Alvarez is on a barn burner now this weekend, right? Say he decides I don't want to fight BKB for the next 12 months. I'm going to go to Bellator, just per se. Say he goes and wins the Bellator title, and then they're like, look, you can go and fight for BKB as long as when you fight MMA, you fight you. So then imagine he goes back to BKB. You got the Bellator champion fighting in
Yeah.
your organization in the main event. It's brilliant for both companies, in my opinion. I mean, I don't think you'll ever see it done with the UFC, but I gotta be honest, like the way it's going, I won't be surprised to see him sign someone like fucking Nate Diaz or Francis Ngannou, because they've obviously got money to be able to pay Rockhold and Perry and all that. So they're doing a lot of good things. Like I was never really into BKB. I used to watch Sean George fight, and that was about it. But now, like if like you said, it's all guys we grew up watching: Eddie Alvarez and Chad Mendes, Mike Perry. Look, I grew up watching them in UFC, so naturally you're inclined to tune in. Do you know what I mean?
It's a shame, like from a personal standpoint, the Sean was like 5 years too early almost, wasn't he?
Yeah, it would have been nice to see Sean get a couple of good paydays out there. I think the American crowd would love him because of just the way he fights, the way he carries
Authentic as
himself.
well. Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Who the fuck's this mad bastard?" So, and he's never in a born fight. He should bring the fight as well, didn't he? So, but
Hey,
yeah,
you need to start hitting that piece of wood on the wall now. Get ready, like.
yeah. These hands are made for BKB, but and these hands break all the time. They just about survive in the MMA gloves.
Yeah, it could be a big payday for you though. You just
Yeah, but
all have
I never see myself fighting BKB, but for 750K, you know, who knows? Who knows? But yeah, that's the breakdown wrapped up. Final picks, like we said, I'm going Burns KO, and I'm going Triple C decision.
Nice. I'll go. I'm gonna go Burns sub round 3. I'm gonna go Cejudo TKO round 4.
There you have it, people. There you have it. Lock it in.
Let's go.
And with that nice, we won't even take a cut of the money if you win anything because legally we can't.
But yeah, you're donating to us, so I suppose we kind of are.
Yeah, but if you're on the Patreon, we appreciate it anyway. So that's kind of our little give back, isn't it, Joe?
Yeah. Cheers, guys.